Used to my studio. It's amazing how spoiled you can get. And I'm trying to pull up overlays. Isn't it overlays? I'm trying to pull up the comments window. But even in just saying that, it reminded me. Oh, my lipstick's not on exactly straight. It reminded me of something when I said how spoiled you get, because I'm like, oh, and this is just normal lighting. It's not like there's anything bad in it. It's just not recording lighting. And man, it just struck me right when I said that how absolutely blessed I am. Like that I have a recording studio in my basement, that I've done so many things in my life that I didn't know how to do. And when I am ready to do something, I just do it. Like most people don't know I'm an avid sewer. I haven't sewn much since I joined the LP, but I was never taught that. I taught myself. I used to be in a thrash metal band, and that was self-taught. I wrote a book because I wanted to write a book. Um, Before my current show that I have now on AM radio, a lot of you don't know, and this is back in my raging liberal days. I used to guest host talk radio in South Florida. Like when I look back on my life and everything, I'm just like, okay, if I want to do it, I do it. That really wasn't even what the show was about, but it just struck me because it reminded me of after my divorce. I was married to a cop for over 20 years. Now he wasn't a cop that whole time, but at the end, probably the last 6 years, he was a cop. But when that was finally all over, and that was rough, and I was sitting in the house, and his room, because he had like a music room, because we were in the band together. I had it set up into this wonderful sewing room, and then I sat there and I looked around and I was like, oh my God, I am so blessed. I have a sewing room. I have a parrot room. I had a room just for my birds. So that just struck me here. I'm like, oh my God, I've got a recording studio in my basement. So I'm off to the Mises Bash. I'm waiting for my curling iron to heat up because something big. Maybe it's more moisture here, but the curls just keep falling out of my hair. And yes, the window's open, so that is a plane or something you're hearing going by. I feel a lot better in my ear, not completely better. By the end of the night, I am sure that I'm going to be like, oh my God, I need to go lay down again. But what I actually had wanted to, I'm so look forward to this. Like, I want to be around friends. But seeing how petty and shady things still are, even though it would have been great for the party if I think the LNC would have made the decision they should have, the mature decision. The fact that they didn't, while it was worse for the party, it's better for me. Because however tough it is, like to go through this purge thing, it's much better for me not to be around those people. Because even though I said it when I meant it in the speech, if you heard it on YouTube, now I doubt it's true. Not that it's false, it's something you just have a sense about. Where I'd said I am perfectly confident that we can have a controversy-free 6 months. I don't think that's possible for this LNC. And it's better that I'm not around that. It's better that I don't have to fight people that I think have very, very questionable ethics. I am like dreaming of, like for instance, the Colorado board. Like I was just contrasting the difference. Not that any of our Colorado boards have ever been bad, like that I've been on. We've had a board that I didn't like too much, I wasn't on, but no Colorado board I've ever been on has been unpleasant. But like the way there is the mutual respect of each other's abilities and principles and ethics is such a breath of fresh air. Like I get stressed out from the amount of work I have to do in Colorado, but I never get, and sometimes people rub you the wrong way. That just happens. But I've never been stressed that I'm working with unprincipled, unethical people. Like the Colorado board, they are on fire for liberty, and we don't agree on everything. As we argue about things, but I never feel like I'm in danger of having to pick knives out of my back, you know? And then I realized that's how I felt most of the time this year up until the purge uh, with these. And that's something better for me not to be around, though it would have been better for the party if we could have modeled being a mature adult. I modeled it. The other blessing that's come out of this, and I get a lot of criticism for this, but if you haven't figured out, there's one gift of autism. There's a lot of gifts of autism, by the way. But one gift of autism is something a friend of mine said when they just they described me back then as a free spirit. You're just such a free spirit. They're like, you are the most unself-conscious person I've ever met in my life. I've had like my normie friends say to me, because after a day with me, people who are very stressed about, are they people looking at me, or, they are about to have a nervous breakdown after a day with me because I don't even notice. Like, I just live my life as flamboyantly as I want. And apparently I get stared at a lot and whatever. And I just don't even notice. I can't even say I don't care, because how can you care or not care if you don't even notice? I am just, as my friend said, the most unself-conscious person that they've met. And I'm the most unself-conscious person that a lot of people have met. And I can't even say it's like a gift or a skill, because it's just how I am, and I've always been that way. So, I don't even know where I was going with this. Well, crap. Well, it doesn't matter. That was just a little thing, I guess. I don't even remember at all where I was going with that. So, I am, heading off. I had a good point. I'm getting old. I really see the memory loss as you get old, and it's scary, man. Like, you just lose. Like, I have taken to, like, when I'm doing these streams, particularly when I don't have an outline, I keep a little notepad when I start a point, because I know brevity is not a skill I have. I write it down so that midway through I can look down and go, oh, that's what I was getting to, before I just go, whoa, off in one of these things. So basically, I just came on to say I'm looking forward to seeing friends. Don't feel too bad about me for today. I knew it was political theater. I knew it going in. I was hoping it wasn't true. And now I am just dreaming of potentially being part of an LNC that has the energy like we have in Colorado, and getting things done, like real things done, and not these like bitchy little comments. Like, when I was sitting there, and then Erin, she does this all the time too, and half the time I'm the one who, like, I'm like the person where you see somebody's being like a real bitch or a real dick to somebody. I'm the person that sits there and I'm not even part of the conversation. I just start to feel really uncomfortable for the target of the bitchiness. And you go and watch past meetings and you'll see I jump in. And I actually defended JBH in June because Phillips, he was telling this story. And you could tell the story was important to him about he and his husband and when gay marriage was legalized and stuff. And it was in his chair report. And is that something that should be in a chair's report? No. But you could tell it meant something to him. And what cost is it to us to politely listen to this emotional story he's telling? And John Phillips and Erin Adams like, this is just not appropriate. And I know I said something like, I don't remember, but I came to his defense to be like, because I felt so awkward. I'm like, this guy's spilling out his heart to us. And someone's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, just shut it. Can't you just listen for a couple minutes? And the same thing today. Off topic for the staff report, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, sometimes some of the most creative ideas come when you let people just, if it's going on too long, okay. But it's a certain kind of control freak that has to do that all the time. And what that does, it sucks the enthusiasm out of people and it makes them self-conscious. That's where I was getting. It doesn't do that to me, but like I see it happening. And I am like so glad I don't have to be around that. Now, I might have to be around it because who knows in the future who's going to be elected to the new LNC. And I could work with anyone, but it's better off. It's better off. And I've got a lot of things going on right now. I had just opened an email, hey, narcissistic, from shit's getting real here in Colorado. I don't know if we're going to be able to do it. I had assumed we were going to do it through all volunteers, but I just got an email from RCV Colorado where it's like, okay, we priced out what the petitioning effort is going to cost in Castle Rock. And I'm like, and she was talking about getting paid petitioners, I think. And I was like, I thought we were just going to do it with volunteers, you know, and these are dollar numbers that I've never raised before. But to be honest with you, I raise more for my LNC campaigns and for nearly everything I do than most Libertarian candidates do. Like, I'm not scared of fundraising. If you go look at my historical committee report, the historical committee has spent over 6 years, $22,200. Guess how much I raised? $22,500 because I was determined not to be a loss on the budget line, that I would always raise my own budget, and I did it. Over the course of 4 LNC campaigns, I've probably raised over $50,000 because it costs a lot to travel, and I travel very frugally, like I'm staying in someone else's apartment right now. So, but these numbers for petitioning, I'm like, oof. We're getting towards the $100,000 mark. That's intimidating. So shit's getting real here. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to do it. I was thinking we were going to do it with volunteers. I just don't have connections to raise money for in those circles. I don't know. I'm also running for office. Yeah, they are about $3 to $5 a signature. So I'm also running for office, Castle Rock as well. That's probably not going to heat up though until, well, I'm going to start early. But anyway, yes, got an awful lot going on to keep me busy. And I have a book to write. But I can't finish the last chapter until Reno. But this shit's getting memorialized. These villains, these villains will not get away with it. Someone will read about it and care. Perhaps it'll be the next me that's getting purged. I can't believe I'm talking about purges of dissidents in the Libertarian Party. How far have we fallen? But I decided on a new series, though. I was reading on my radio show. If y'all listened to my radio show earlier today, you should. And if you're wondering why I'm doing such libertarian basic stuff on my radio show, it's because it's all like Trumpetarians there. And I'm just like in-your-face libertarian. And the stuff that's really basic to us isn't to them. And the point I'm trying to drive home is, you think you're about liberty, you ain't about liberty. And if you are, come join the Libertarian Party. Because the Republican Party ain't about liberty. It might be more about liberty on some points than the Democrats. So what I'm doing right now is just going through the LP National platform and explaining it to somebody who will be like somewhat taken aback by the first thing. And so the thing I went over today, it was struck on me on how much like the LNC it was, where it says, we oppose the prosecutorial practice of overcharging in order to get criminal defendants to waive a jury trial and plead down. And you know, that's what they do. They try to intimidate people by charging them with everything. And now this isn't a criminal thing, but the analogy is so clear to what the LNC did to me with those folders of bullshit evidence. So I've got a new series idea that I'm going to do through Windows, through Reno. Why did I say through Windows? Through Reno, at least once a week, I think. And it's going to be like something like, I haven't decided like yet, but it's going to be something like Karen Ann's heinous crime of the week, you know? And I'm just going to put up one screenshot of the bullshit stuff they threw in this folder. And you tell me if you think that's ethical. They are doing the same thing the state does. It is crazy. And you want to know why? Because it's an agent of the state that did it. Matthew Buffman, I don't doubt anyone's libertarianism. I don't play that game. All I know is he's a cop who's still a cop. And I was married to a cop, and I know a cop. And he did what cops do. They just throw everything into a bucket and hope they can nail somebody. That's not justice. But that's what they did. So I'm going to go through the absolute ridiculousness of some of these screenshots. And you tell me if that's who you think should be leading the party. Somebody who would think that's a removable offense. Because literally, some of these screenshots just say things like, I'm going to the convention in Wisconsin. Are there any Mises Caucus people there? That was in my, I shit you not, that was one of my crimes. Now and they described that as stirring up affiliates. So I'm going to have a good time with this. And then I'm going to do the one with the video that I did that was in my folder of crimes, the same video that Laura Epke wrote me an email praising the video. Yet then she puts it in a folder of crimes. This is so corrupt. Like, I want to stop talking about it, but my jaw keeps just dropping when I consider this is the Libertarian Party. I know what the other blessing was. I knew if I talk long enough, and now I'm going to be a little bit late to this thing. I know what the other blessing was. I get a lot of criticism for this. I block people liberally. As I've gotten older, I know some people like, oh, you're just trying to be in an echo chamber. Believe me, what libertarians, you might be in a libertarian echo chamber a little bit, but I don't have a problem with that. I've been indoctrinated with statism my whole life. That was an echo chamber. I don't need to have status all around me to know what they believe, okay? But even amongst libertarians, you're never in a confirmation bias echo chamber because libertarians are contraries. And even amongst people who generally agree with you or your friends, they're going to push back all the time because that's just how libertarians are. So there's no danger of like a true echo chamber. So as I get older, and I've said this before, and I'm sorry if this is real morbid, but I like, well, you all know that, like, I'm a very religious person and very much a gut instinct person, and my gut instincts are usually right. And again, I hope this doesn't sound terribly morbid. And this is why I tweeted earlier today to say, be careful what you ask God for. And the reason, and I'm going to give you, I should write down my little note before I forget my point. There's a lady that some of you may know who are in Christian circles called Joni Eareckson Tada. She is paralyzed from the neck down. And she writes a lot about how she was victimized by the faith healers, you know, who gave her like this hope that if only she had enough faith, she would be healed of her broken back, that she got from diving in a pool that was too shallow. And you hear about that happening. But after years of living with this disability and getting to travel the world and talk, she said something that, like, it spooked me. It spooked me, and somebody on Twitter said, why should you be careful what you ask God for? And if some person said, why? Because he often answers like the devil. And Joni Eareckson Tada told the story about when she was 15 or 16, and she was just this sweet, precious, devout teenager, you know, and she was always praying to God, use me in a powerful way. I want to make a difference type of thing. And she said 20 years later, she realized in answer to that prayer, God sent her a broken back. Because that was the vehicle that she used to touch people. So be careful what you ask God for. Now, I've always been very passionate about everything I believe. And in my activism, I always want to make a difference. And I can't say I prayed directly like that. I never prayed directly like that after I heard what Johnny Erickson Tata said. But I've always had the heart's cry that I want to make a difference. It's not even that you want to be remembered, but you want to make a difference. You want the world to be different in some way. You want your life to have meant something bigger. And it's not that there's anything wrong with people whose their heart's cry is just, I want to raise good children. I never had kids. That's never been my thing. I have an activist heart. And I realized that what has happened this past year, at least in liberty circles, has made me somewhat immortal. And these really, really, really tough times, that was the answer to my desire to make a difference. Yeah, so God sent me the persecution so that I could suffer it and make a difference. And I had said that even at the very beginning of this, and I didn't realize really what I was saying, where I'd said during the whole initial shock and pain of the thing, where I had said, now I understand what the Apostle Paul said. He said, even now I'm being poured out as a drink offering. And sometimes to make a difference, you have to give everything. So in that way, I'm also seeing the hand of God in all of this. That this is going to make a difference. And that it takes the gift that I have of being the most unself-conscious person somebody's ever met, that gift is being used for this. And it does tie back into that I liberally block people. There are certain negative things you just don't need in your life, and you don't need to subject your life. And now it brings it back to I said, I'm not trying to get too morbid, but I've had a very deep conviction, probably for the past maybe year or so, that I don't have that much longer. It's just something and maybe I'm wrong. And I'm not a morbid person like that. I'm not a person who walks around thinking about death or anything like that. But I've had that feeling. So trying to make things count, and you want to know what doesn't count? Putting up with assholes who just don't like you and want to bring you down. There are people I don't like. And I never understood why people spend time going into the personal lives or even pages, social media, whatever, of someone they don't like just with the purpose of just saying something nasty. I've just never done that. When I don't like somebody, I avoid them. I don't go looking for them. I might talk about them on my own page, but I don't go into their life. So another gift this has given me is I've even more so been like, dude, I'm not wasting 1 second of whatever I have left on this earth listening and reading your shit. Shove it back up your asshole where it belongs. So me being very vocal has brought out the haters. And I love it because it's like a hunter. Block. Block. I thank you for the trash taking itself out. So now I don't have to wonder who's reading and hating. You outed yourself, and I take aim, and I block your ass. Because I don't need that in my life. And boy, my public figure page has been great for that. Because there are some people who just can't help themselves. And I'm like, bye, Felicia. Without guilt. And you should do it without guilt too. Because believe me, you'll have plenty of critics amongst your friends that'll keep you humble and will tell you when you're screwing up. And you want to know who you need telling you when you're screwing up? It's not people who don't like you. There's another principle in the Bible that says, faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. If you need to be wounded, if you need to be corrected, you need that from friends, not from people who fundamentally dislike you. Oh yeah, Libertarian Revolution, I used that chat too to block people. Carol Moore, block. I mean, I blocked like 5 people from that chat alone, and reading the conversation where I could see you guys were responding to people I couldn't see anymore, I felt free as a bird. You don't need, and the funny thing is I didn't block Will McVeigh, because even though I think he did a very evil thing in Delaware, he really wasn't being like intolerable in that chat. He was just saying his point of view. Carol Moore is just evil. She's an evil, bitter, small, petty woman. There's no hope for that one. But like Will McVeigh, I didn't block. I mean, I didn't agree with what he was saying, but he wasn't being nasty or mean-spirited. Isn't that funny, you know? But there were some nasty, mean-spirited ones in there, and I just block. Yeah, Will can be an asshole, so can I. But what I'm saying is, he probably, you know, the people in Delaware obviously feel different. If I was in Delaware, I'd feel different, but I'm not. So I don't feel personal hatred from him. But people I feel personal hatred from, I remove them from my life without hesitation. And I say it to you all. Now, maybe that's not your style, but you don't have to let these people into your psyche, because they do wound you psychically. And if you need correction, surround yourself with friends who aren't scared to tell you when they think you're wrong. Because again, faithful are the wounds of a friend. So I'm going to go now and curl my hair, and maybe I'll be able to stream some from the Mises Bash. I'm going to be fashionably late because the Google Maps around here suck. I mean, it shouldn't be. It's only a few minutes away, but I know I'm going to get lost. All right. I love you all, and thank you for being part of this journey with me. I couldn't have walked it alone. And I'm glad God doesn't show you what's coming next, because you might run away screaming. And yes, the Mises Caucus Bash is in Boston. Oh, God. We got a lonely heart here. Does anyone want to service this gentleman here? I don't think anyone does, dude. I'm sorry. Maybe go hire a hooker or something. I don't know. Okay, everyone. You have a good night. I love you.